morning, my subscribers and viewers. Another day. Grateful to see another day, man. Thank the Lord our God, spirit of life, even for the agnostic and the atheist, even though they don't want to acknowledge it, and the skeptic. God has spared our life, and thank God for that. God has spared the life of former President Trump, and the whole incident has drawn a lot of prayers and a lot of praise going up to God. I know a lot of people don't like that because this great grandpa, long bearded man in the sky, you're praying to that guy. He's not responsible for anything, it's magic. But God has spared the man one, spared him, And a lot of people pray, people who know the true and living God, the biblical God, they pray. Thank God that He spared his life. They have tried to corner him so many times unjustly, and he finished his way out of it. A matter of fact, his escape was all providentially carried out by God Almighty Himself. Only God is God universe, and God do what He wants, He kill who He wants, and He protect who He want to protect. Nobody could kill Trump if God doesn't want Trump to die. No one. No sniper, no bomb, nothing. Simple. This is God universe. He operates within it, and He put people in power and take people out of power. And if God wants him to go back into power, nobody can stop him. I'm not no prophet here. I'm not making no prophecy. I'm not one of those Christian fanatics you see on TV and YouTube. I don't into any Christian fanatic. And I criticize them. See, a lot of people think, well, I'm after atheists and this and that and agnostic. I'm not after nobody. I'm not going after nobody. I'm just reasoning. I do my own reading, studying, and when I look into things and say it make no sense, that's what I deal with. If you don't like it, that's up to you. And a lot of people, they can't reason hadrem. They can't address the points that I'm making. The only thing they can do is just throw ad hominems. Right? That's all they can do. They cannot reason hadrem to the point. They just have too much anger. And as one person was saying concerning Trump's situation, people have too much anger, man. Rot. They don't look into things rationally and deal rationally at all, man. They just burst out and then explode. They don't like certain things, and they don't learn how to. That's the same thing in life. Life in general, people don't they don't try to learn how to angle life problems and things like that. So they just explode and just kill people and kill themselves and take substances and just blow their minds and stuff like that. To learn to angle situation, and because you don't like what I'm saying, a lot of things I don't like what I'm saying, but I learned to angle that. I've talked to so many people that have different views and stuff like that, but I respect them. I have tolerance to what they're saying. I'm not gonna want to kill them. That's what tolerance is all about. Man have a different title than you reason with them, and then we disagree, agree to disagree, and respect. But not in this world. It's like just so much explosive, disposition and attitude and behavior, and curse. That's all they can do, curse. You know what? I'm gonna deal with a passage again in this book by Sabine Hossenfelder, Existential Physics. Now they're going to stir up a lot of people again. But reasoning is reasoning, right? Reasoning is reasoning. And she's going to talk, she and this lady that she know, and this lady is a Muslim, and Zia Mirali, and they're gonna have a interesting discussion. And this is about, can we create a universe? An interview with Zia Mirali. So we're gonna deal with that and find out, because human beings have the potential to can imagine anything, can imagine virtually anything, but the world that we live in, a lot of these imagination and imaginary, possibility and all of these things will never come to be, right? It's not what we can. It's not our imagination. It's whether the universe, live up to our imagination. Our imagination don't control anything. The universe, our reality, determines whether or not our imagination can be made practical, can become applicable. Right? So we're going to deal with this. Get right into it, because I have to deal with some reading now. Now Zia and Sabine earned their PhD around the same time. Now Zia Zia successfully switched to science journalism after receiving a degree. She also does much of the public outreach for the Foundational Questions Institute, of which Sabine a member, and so we have run into each other a few times over the years, right? So they know each other. So page 192. Remember that according to the currently most popular theory about the origin of the universe, inflation, everything we see around us came out of quantum fluctuation, of the hypothetical inflation field that permeates the universe. Now from this quantum thing, become more popular every day. It's like scientists is resting all of reality upon this complex field of science. So they don't have a lot of scientists don't even understand it yet. Just barely getting, because even the one that I think is Richard Friedman, he's the one who said that we don't understand it. We don't understand quantum cosmology or quantum physics yet. But a lot of scientists like Sean Carroll disagree. And many other science, because with science is about progression, and they don't like to say, okay, I don't think we'll ever achieve this. In time we will eventually in the future, in the foreseeable future, we'll eventually achieve it, even though it's impossible for them to achieve. Now, if the field exists, we could produce conditions for similar creation event in the laboratory, giving birth to a baby universe. See what I'm saying? So let's use the language in parallel. Our universe, let me consider universe. There's a adult universe, because she's talking about creating a baby universe. In essence, that means the young universe would rapidly grow and detach from ours, much as a drop of water pinches off from the top. From the outside, a newborn universe would briefly resemble a tiny black hole. This is what this lady is saying, man. It would be gone in a fraction of a second. We'd never find out if it had inhabitants or what happened with them. Now I want you to think about that for a while now. Think about that for a while, what this lady is saying. You're going to create a baby universe. Now, what is the reductio ad absurdum here? The universe that we're living in right now, no scientist can tell you how it started. None. Just read from Sean Carl, Bogdad. They don't know. No science now. No scientist can tell you how the universe actually come to be. Science, the law of physics cannot go beyond certain point within the universe. All they know, they claim that there's a Big Bang, but what caused the Big Bang, they can't tell you. They don't know within that fraction of a second where this massive entity explodes from a singularity. The time it takes for that explosion, that little tiny infinitesimal space between the singularity and the explosion. They cannot tell you. The law of physics won't allow them to go beyond that point to explain anything about the universe. And this lady is contemplating making a universe in a lab. If you don't know how the first this massive adult universe come to be, then how could you claim that you are trying to imagine creating a baby universe in a laboratory? Oh, think with me, people, think with me. How is that ever will be possible? Now, and again, look at this. You write off anything beyond the universe. Remember we're talking about she's an advocate of scientism, not science. He doesn't believe anything beyond the universe. Nothing exists but this universe. Now, but what about the baby universe? What is behind the baby universe that she does not believe is behind the adult universe? Is she depending on cosmic evolution to create this baby universe? Trying to get all the energy, the dark matter, coordinate matter, all of those subatomic particles, just place them in a laboratory and just allow time to form this baby universe. You think that's what she's imagining? No. She is the intelligence behind it. She's the one who's going to do what she thinks she would be able to do to make a baby universe. She is a intelligent woman, intelligent brain, and she's going to use all her knowledge about science, everything she knows about science and about the universe, she's going to put in to create this baby universe. Right? And then when it come on to the adult universe, you don't need a will, you don't need an intention, you don't need anything. You don't need an efficient cause. But for the baby universe, you do. You, Sabine, is the efficient cause behind this baby universe you imagine is possible to create. And those are the scientists who might join you in this grand endeavor. Creating such a baby universe requires focusing a large amount of energy in a small regional space. How you know that? And you don't know how the adult universe come to be. This is not possible in the foreseeable future, but it might one day become possible. Never. That to tell you don't understand nothing about the adult universe. That's why you come up with this imagination. You don't understand a lot. Not because you can work your little mathematics here and there and come up with some weird theories. Because you're talking about ascientific. You use that word all the time. but you're stepping over a scientific. You're stepping over from a scientific field into a scientific field. That's the word you like to use, ascientific. Imagination is running wild beyond what you can observe, beyond what you can verify by scientific, empirical investigation, observation, and methodology. Can't. Mrs. Sabine. And keep in mind that physicists don't yet understand the quantum behavior of space-time. See? They don't even understand it yet. That's what Richard Feynman said. If space and time also undergo quantum fluctuation, baby universe could be created spontaneously. That's a radical unscientific speculation. That's a philosophical assertion, because you can't prove that assertion, but neither by not by science. You can't prove that assertion by scientific scrutiny, investigation. What's it? If space and time also undergo quantum fluctuation, baby universe could be created spontaneously without the need to focus large energies. Once again, this is because in a quantum theory, everything that can happen will happen eventually. You see, a lot of scientists have different understanding, different viewpoint on quantum mechanics. A lot. Every one of them have a different understanding of it, because they're trying to understand it, but they don't fully understand what it is. Because once upon a time, we think of the atom is the foundation of matter. Then all of a sudden, bam, quarks, and then bam, string theory was considered to be the theory that is going to be the theory that answers everything, every question. And now a lot of scientists is saying, no, this is unscientific. There is no, we can't use an experiment to justify this theory, this string theory. And it's all in imagination of the scientists. It's a philosophical thing now. So string theory seems to be out the door of the scientific community, even though it still lingers there. But a lot of scientists, physicists, cosmologists are drawing away from those. These are imagination of scientists and physicists, trying to understand this universe that a all-powerful God created. Listen to God and you will understand it. But no, there is no God. There's no principle of sufficient reason behind the universe. Right? Once again, this is because in quantum theory, everything that can happen will happen eventually. If space-time can give rise to baby universes, and mathematically nothing seems to speak against it, then sometime, somewhere, it will give rise to one. That sound like argument from ignorance. Now, mathematics of science. Mathematics, I said, is a language of the universe. Is a language of the universe. And they use mathematics to make prediction. That's what theoretical physicists, that's what they do. They come up with, you imagine things, and then they try to use maths to see if it's a thought experiment. That's what thought experiments are all about. From Galileo to Einstein, all of these guys involved in thought experiment. Come up with him. That's why Einstein is the greatest, because when he come up with his thought experiment, and then you rely on the experiment to confirm or verify that his thoughts and then his mathematics to make prediction that this is what actually happened, and so on. Just like with his general theory and special theory of relativity, and it panned out. in reality, that's, so even though special theory of relativity, the universe is very surrealistic in a way. Things can compress literally, not metaphorically. Time, space stretches literally, not metaphorically. If you read about these things, I learned from one physics and I learned from another physicist. One physicist contradicted a physicist, and the other physicist contradicted a physicist. Everybody have access to what physicists, all of these guys are saying. All you have to do is read. I don't consider myself no professor or nobody. I just read these guys. I understand what they're saying because one physicist helped me to understand what that other physicist is saying. So all of you emoters out there can do the same that I'm doing. So since mathematics, which is a tool of prediction, doesn't rule out the possibility, so does she say it might be, since maths is not against it, and so on, then why don't you work out some mathematical formula or work out some mathematical model to determine whether or not it can be? That's what you guys do. So Sabine, he asks Zia for an interview on Skype. Right? And then she asks Zia if she's religious. Sabine, who asks this Muslim, this lady, Zia, if she's religious. Well, Zia says, I have just come off a month of fasting from Ramadan. So judge for yourself. And so I proceed to inquire, and that's Sabine, I proceed to inquire whether she thinks that scientists will really one day create a universe in the laboratory. Oh my God. People, think for yourself. Think. This is what this lady is, people can ask questions, I have no problem asking, people can ask questions. But I think some question should not be asked, man. Simple. It's like asking, shall I be God one day? Shall I be God one day? Like that. It's the same thing. Now, there's a similar thing to this, creating something in a lab that is humanly impossible. People say that I am smug. I'm saying that they don't understand the definition of smug. Every person that present their views, present it with confidence and boldness. This is part of communication skill. You have to sound confident and bold in what you present, because your audience is going to think that you don't know the heck what you're saying. You're iffy, find yourself in a non-plus situation, nervy, and your thoughts are all over the place, random and incoherent. You have to talk with confidence when you're making any presentation. And if you emoters, did spend some time in college and university, I know that whenever you're talking and making a presentation before the class, you have to sound confident. If you're going to lose marks, you have to present your stuff, whatsoever it is. You have to present it with a confidence assurance that I know what I'm saying. Even what I'm saying, if you don't if you don't believe what I'm saying, it doesn't matter. But every single person, when you're doing presentation in school, before your professor, before your teacher, before your audience, you better be confident and know what you're saying, or if you're going to lose mark. This has nothing to do with being smart. I'm just a man. I'm just a simple guy. I don't see myself better than anybody, and I'm not the brightest guy in the world. I'm just a ordinary intelligent guy, just like every human being is intelligent. See? So just forget about this smug thing. I'm not a smug guy. I'm a humble Christian apologist. That's it. Get to know me and you will see exactly that I am what I am. It's a simple humble guy. And not because I'm critiquing somebody that has a PhD and some scientific degree mean that they know everything and said everything and all of these things. No. When you're the fallacy of appealing to authority, always gets a lot of people because they think because these guys have PhD in this and these guys, you can't critique them. You see a lot of garbage. You see a lot of things that are irrational and absurd, just like what this lady's saying. Of very, extremely absurd. And everybody now and again talks some absurd things. So I'm not excluding myself. You know, I might talk certain things, but not on this kind of level for sure. I might present a viewpoint that I might not, look through thoroughly enough. And if somebody come and say, and bring a stronger, more powerful objection to it, then I have to stand down and say, you know what, your arguments sound more, have more explanatory power. So I demurred and say, okay, you win. But I don't come up with this kind of thinking like this, something like this. And let me gonna show you another guy who does the same thing. Now there's James Storr. This is one of my another teacher, man. James Storr. You see, I'm a student of, I have many teachers. Many teachers. As I told you before, man, I'm a student of every man. I learn from anybody. I read these guys' work, I listen to their debates. James Storr is one of my guy that I look up to and I listen to him a lot. Listen to his debate, his lecture. I don't come about saying things just like that. I do my research. I listen to these guys with a bigger brain. And James Storr versus Lee Cronin. Now Lee Cronin in 2011 claimed that he's going to make life in the laboratory. Within 2 years he's going to do that. This is now 2024. Not even close. James Storr critique him hard. James Storr is a Christian, and I know that he get a lot of backlash, just like I'm getting a lot of backlash. Get a lot of backlash, and then this other atheist guy, the Professor Daves, come out and trying to contradict what he's saying. And they had a debate and stuff like that. Goliath against David, except this Goliath is so humble and have a vast wealth of knowledge. Genius, this guy. I don't know this guy don't get a Nobel Prize. I don't know how come that this guy should have probably 15 of them already. And they come out and counter him on it. You will never do that. You can't do it. It's impossible for any human being. So if you're going to tell me that I'm smug, then you have to tell Dr. Todd the same thing. And probably they already do. Because I said it's impossible. It is human impossible for human to create any universe. There's a lot of cosmological model or scientific model about different universe, and our universe is one of the many universe, and if this universe die, it would create another universe and all of these things. Universe create universe, and our is one of the lucky universe to come into existence. With all of those physics of constant, we talk about anthropological constants, these variables within physics, that if for instance, if the sun, if the earth was a little tiny degree distant away from the sun, and if it's too close to the sun and all of these things, we will, you have to have that Goldilocks. They use that term, that Goldilocks position within the Milky, in the galaxies of where the Earth is a Goldilocks condition, perfect for life, perfect for the habitation of the universe, for the Earth, and the whole biosphere of the universe, perfect where it is. Perfect. So you have all of these theories out there, man. Many stuff you can read for yourself. This guy is claiming that it even spoke out against the evolutionary theory that life can be, people always believe that it takes millions of years to create life, but I can do it. I can do it within a lab within less than 2 years. And Dr. James Tork came out and said, "Oh, how is it going, Lee Cronin? How is it going? Yeah, have you created life yet?" It's the same problem we have here, talking about creating a universal lab, not even a particle accelerator. Creating a universal lab. I don't expect you to say that as a heavily credentialed physicist. Come on, man. You can't even create a flower. There's nothing that God create these guys can create. The simplest thing you can see, the little bug on your hand that is squeezed. Create that. Try something more simpler first. But you're talking about creating a baby universe. What baby universe is talking about? The universe that God didn't create was never universe. It was never a baby. Call it into being instantaneously, it appear as it is. Massive, beyond human comprehension. Every one of us are students of the universe. A lot we don't know. Remember, I told you that a scientist said all that the scientists, regardless of what field of scientists, cosmologists, astrophysicists, astronomer, regardless of what field of science you belongs to, all that we can say we know for sure is 5%. 5%. Just a scientist say that, not a Christian, not a Christian apologist or some philosopher. A scientist say that. Lee Cronin and others like him within the field believe that they can create life in a lab. This lady is thinking about creating a baby universe in a lab. When God created this universe, He created it with time, space, energy, matter, everything. Simultaneously, all come to be all at once. Into nothing. From nothing. You know, God created a universe now with some kind of cosmic lab. Zena, when Sabine said that, listen to the response of Zia. Same type of level of intellect. How the heck do I know that? Zena says and laughs. I am just someone who writes about it. When I went into it, I just thought it was a weird and interesting idea. I love that it was possible to pose the question that you could think about it. And it was not just a wild idea. There is long history about it. Yeah, many people might be, sharing the same weird ideas, this lady. Helen Groth has written about it. Andre Linde has written about it. It came out of them trying to understand something serious about how our universe began. No scientist can tell you how the universe began. I just read about Sean Carroll. No one know. He said nobody know. And if you don't know how the adult universe come to be, how the heck you going to create a baby universe? How you going to do that? There is a scientific underpinning to it. They and others have shown that making a universe would take finite amount of energy rather than an infinite amount of energy. Or they do not. Or do they know that? And then it becomes an engineering problem, a very sophisticated, futuristic engineering problem, but something that could in principle be done. That was surprising and exciting to me, but practically doable, I doubt it. See, this other lady, I doubt it. All of these things, what they're talking about is scientific. They're stepping inside the supernatural realm. They're stepping inside the metaphysical realm. They're stepping inside the meta-scientific realm. But it's just like talking about ethics. Ethics is not a scientific field. Meta-ethics. Scientists must be honest in his discussion and his conclusion and all of these things, and if he come up with whatsoever, understanding of experimentation and all of these things, he must be honest in giving the report of the outcome of his experimentation regarding anything in particular about nature of the universe. But honesty has nothing to do with scientific verification. It has nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with any of that. According to the most optimistic estimate, creating a new universe would take about 10 kilograms in pure energy. And the favorite Einsteinian formula equal mc square energy. Talk about conservation of matter, energy, not created or destroyed, it just change or convert into something, matter converted energy into matter. You need this energy to get the new universe to grow. Once it does that, it creates more energy on its own, because an expanding space-time violates energy conservation. Now let me give him some information on energy conservation from my brain. Norman L. Geisler. The first law of thermodynamics is sometimes stated: energy can be neither created nor destroyed. In this form, the law is often used by non-theists to show that the universe is eternal and that there is no need for God. Certainly, there can be no God who created a temporal world ex nihilo. The first law is a law of energy conservation. Heat is measured in calories of energy. Calories can drift from one object to another, can be converted into mechanical energy, and can be stored even though energy is not a material substance. But no 1 calorie of energy actually goes out of existence. It merely changes form. That's why E equal mc squared is all about. Another more accurate way to state this law of conservation is that the amount of actual energy in the universe remains constant. This says nothing about how the energy came to be in the universe. It also has no power to theorize about whether God could bring new energy into the system if he so wish. It is a statement of observation that the energy does not just disappear and no more as being seen popping into existence from non-existence. The statement, energy can neither be created nor destroyed, expresses philosophical dogmatism. This is a metaphysical pronouncement not supported by observation. As far as we can observe, no new energy is coming into existence, no actual energy is going out of existence. As such, the first law supports neither a theistic or non-theistic worldview. It does not claim that energy is eternal, so God is unnecessary. But neither does it claim that God has endowed the system with energy at any point. It simply affirms that right now the actual amount of energy, however long it has been here, is not changing. That's what energy conservation is all about. Now, 10 kilograms doesn't sound like much until you remember that even the world's largest particle colliders merely collide. Well, particles. They work with mass equivalents that are 24 orders of magnitude below what can be required to make a universe, and the temperature they reach are about 10 orders of magnitude too small. If we have the right theory of how our universe began, perfect. There's nothing in principle about what event that we couldn't reproduce. You see? Very good. You have to know how the adult universe come to be before you have any idea how to make a baby universe. And put that aside. Even if you know the universe was created, you don't have the power to make anything. Not even a deformed baby universe. What do you call it? It's called this the delusion of grandeur, man. Call this the delusion of grandeur. No man will ever create a universe anywhere. A lab, a particle accelerator, nowhere. This is a God business, a supernatural act of God, a supernatural act that's far beyond anything a human being could imagine, far beyond anything a human being. It doesn't matter how much a human being gleans intellectually, extract from what he knows about the universe. He could never create a universe. Not even a particle itself. They don't even, right now, scientists can't even tell you what an atom really looks like. And all that thing you see in the book, they tell you that this is not really how it really looks like. Most they can tell you it's a probabilistic clouds. If we have the right theory of, you don't need, when you talk about the right theory, you have to have the right ingredients. You have to have the power, the omnipotent power to create not just theory. Theory can't do anything. A lot of theory these guys come up with and they don't bear it in reality. Because reality determines whether or not this mathematical formula can actually be. Not the other way around. Theory can't manipulate reality. Theory can't do anything to reality. Reality determines if a theory is applicable. If a theory can create a state of affair within the universe, within reality itself. Reality determines that. No theory, no physicist can determine that. Zia tells me, well, when I spoke to the people who were really involved in the research on how to create a universe, who thought about it for many decades, in their heart they really think one day it will be done. And they very well may be right. Some of them have a very romantic picture of this, but for me, I suppose it was more interesting that it could be done. When she began working on her book, Zia says she approached the topic from a scientific side, asking what it would take to actually make a universe. But her publisher thought that wasn't the most interesting part of the story. Even the publisher have more sense. It take to create a universe. We're gonna get that information from outside of God Himself. Because if you take all the constituents of the universe, all that you can put it on. Because when it comes on to time is not physical. So you know that. How you gonna get time, space, energy? You talk about energy. Or you're gonna get all of these non-physical aspects of the universe in a lab, to contain it in a way in which you put all of these things together and voila, a baby universe. When a baby, teratoma carcinoma, teratology, when a baby is undergoing development, if a lot of the important biological, physiological process don't, happening as how it ought to be according to the DNA, that embryogenesis might not come to be by the form that stereotology is all about. And if you extrapolate this within physics, and these people, trying to create a little baby, that's why I say, not even the form universe they could make, not even of the form little baby, not even at the form baby universe. Not even a digit. Nothing. Man, this is laughable, man. I didn't publish that. Didn't want to get, go along with this idea. They were asking me, are you interested in the ethical side? In the religious side, in the moral side? It was a strange experiment. No, it was a strange experience, Zia recalls. Because you don't write about this if you write a future article for a scientific magazine. You write about the science the intellectual pursuit. But the book publishers said, for us, this is really the whole essence of the book. And I thought, hang on a second. They're giving me license to talk about something I'm genuinely interested in, but that I had to train out for me. As a scientist and as a science journalist, you do not want to sound flaky. These are taboo subjects that you would not allow to get into. And I thought, yeah, let me ask those scientists. They have found the scientists who were more willing to talk about the not strictly scientific aspect of their work than she had anticipated. I had actually expected the scientists would be embarrassed and not say much, Zia says. So I would line up some theologian to talk about the flaky bit. Say what I call it when concerning philosophers or theologians, you see what they call it, the flaky bit. These things that we don't deal with, these flaky things in science, outside of science. You want to talk about these other things that are ascientific. So we go to the theologian and we go to the philosophers. And let's see what they have to say. We know that they don't have much to say that of great importance, but nonetheless, let us, venture to see nonetheless. But when I sat down with the scientists, what surprised me was how much they had thought about these questions. If we can make a universe, could our universe also have had a creator? Now, come, people, come. Come. If we can make a universe, could our universe also have had a creator? But you are the creator already. You already create the universe. So if you already create the universe, you're the creator of the universe. And then you're asking about whether the universe would have a creator if I create the universe? No, people, be honest. What is this? So the universe will give rise to its creator, although it's already created by a creator? This is extreme, rational, logical absurdity. And these are who talking that way? Scientists, PhDs, heavily credentialed guy. Who is this little smug guy contending with these intellectual giants? Those immortals gathering around looking and saying, look for yourself, immortals. Does this make any sense to you? Does this make any sense to you? If it makes sense to you, shame on you. Because even a 5-year-old would see the illogicalness, the absurdity of this statement. And could you tell? What moral responsibility do you have towards beings that might evolve in your baby universe? So they're going to create this universe and hope within the universe it's going to give rise to its own animal species, flowers, and all of these different living things. God, a creator, then living things going to pop up out of nothing, like without just random or probably some spontaneous generate. It's the same thing as this universe. We are here not because there is a God who created the universe, a God that created me and you, a God that creates the atheist, a God that creates the skeptic, a God that creates the agnostic, and the theist and everything within the universe. The universe gives rise to itself. It's like self-cause, which is nonsense. Because for you to create yourself, you have to exist before yourself. For the universe to create itself, the universe has to. But the universe has no causal power. The universe is just matter, energy, space, and time. There's nothing in it to give rise to anything without intellectual input. And so, as I said before, if, say, they have the power and the ability to do such a thing, it's not random, it's not cosmic evolution, it's intelligent. It's a woman and men with intelligence, with the power of the will, the freedom of the will, the intention to create this thing. Take it up, take it up, take it up. Take that reason way up to the adult universe. Then if it so be that you're going to require a will and intelligence to make a baby universe in the lab, the same thing James Stewart said. It requires complex mechanism in the lab to process a lot of these things, to put these become molecule out. Is not they have no sense, they have no intelligence to direct themselves to life. You have to take this molecule by intelligence. You are the intelligent agent that take this molecule and put them together in what and to create whatsoever system you want to create. You cannot just put these molecules, your DNA, RNA, nucleic acid, carbohydrates in the lab and leave them there for them to come to create living things or other system, complex system. The organic chemists have to do all of that in the lab with sophisticated machines. And it's the same thing, if it's possible, for Sabine and the other scientists and physicists and cosmologists and astronomers come together in the lab, get all ingredients to make this little baby universe. Intelligent, it requires intelligence, it requires will, it requires intention, it requires mind. The same for the adult universe, the same for the adult universe. It's pure reasoning by argumentum ad absurdum. It's all that, man. Take it and distill it to its logical conclusion. And what do you get? Distillation of absurdity, irrationality. Another tangential question that they had run into inadvertently when researching cosmology, quantum functions, or even quantum gravity. Does the universe require consciousness? Well, the universe is not conscious, because there's a part that I'm going to read in this book about whether the universe is conscious. The universe, this massive entity, is not conscious. I guess you go into Hylosooism. I don't know. Probably some guy hypothesis. It's just stepping over in some here that has nothing to do with science. Imagining all of these things. The universe indeed requires consciousness. But the universe is not conscious, but it requires consciousness. Like Sabine and her fellow physicists who are thinking about creating a baby universe. conscious, living, intelligent human being. As we embedded in a larger field of consciousness that encompasses us all, do we have free will? Not going to talk about that anymore. Things that hadn't really spoken about in public before, and that they sometimes had not spoken about to their colleagues, aspects that were not necessarily religious. Sometimes they were atheists, or people I had assumed were atheists or would identify as agnostic, but that you might categorize as spiritual. She adds example, Adri Lindy, a cosmologist, right, on whether the cosmos must be observed or whether by some super consciousness or just an inanimate recording device in order for time to start ticking in the universe. Ideas that bubbled up when he had been thinking about quantum gravity and early universe. Alex Villenkins, one of the physicists who is famed for having shown how the universe could be created from nothing by quantum fluctuation. A matter of fact, when you read about what other scientists said about quantum mechanics and talk about all of this quantum fluctuation, it does not necessarily mean there is no causal efficacy there. It's just that they don't understand it enough to determine one way or the other. But they're not willing to, not because it appears with that kind of random uncertainty and all of this and superposition of particle in that very weird and surrealistic ring, doesn't mean that there is no cause-effect thing taking place down there. Right? Everything is about quantum fluctuation now and all of these things, and because, relying on this quantum mechanic thing to create things and think they can do all of these things by using quantum theory and quantum fluctuation, a wave function and all of these things. Think by using this, they don't understand it well enough to use it to do anything much. To anything more as fundamentally impossible as creating a baby universe. By quantum science, a lot of things came out of quantum science, for sure. But they do not understand it enough. As one of the developers said, Richard Freeman said, they don't understand it. That's what he said. But everything now is quantum fluctuation, quantum this, quantum that, quantum that. And there's a bubbling what, one of the physicists who's famed for having shown how the universe could be created from nothing by quantum fluctuation clarified that by nothing he means no space, time, and no matter, but he was curious about how the quantum laws originated. When the Bible talks about God created the universe out of nothing, not even quantum fluctuation was anywhere close. That was a part of what he created, if such is the case according to scientists. There was, when they talk about nothing mean nothing. No vacuum, no dust, no energy, no nothing. Nothing. And you have scientists who want to redefine nothing as of something still occupying some kind of vacuum. But he was curious about how the quantum laws originated. So now you see quantum law. He's referring to quantum law, but other people who study quantum physics do not talk about quantum law. They talk about randomness and uncertainty. So not really from nothing. The physicists and maths were out there. So, not really, quantum physics and mathematics is out there, what they said. Remember, Stephen Hawking said their mathematical law create the universe, give rise to the universe. And not only were people willing to talk about it, but they felt a sense of relief that they could talk about these things because they had never been allowed to talk about it before. One physicist, Tony Z, told me how he had been berated by a senior colleague when he had started asking big questions as a young researcher, and had tended to keep quiet in public about such things since. Then there was Antonin Serres. He works in the foundation of quantum mechanics and on topics of free will. Zier explained he had a very set idea of what quantum mechanics should be like in order to fit with his religious belief. So he's a religious person, this scientist. He felt very strongly that quantum mechanics had to be deterministic, that there is no uncertainty there because God knows everything. He has a point. While atheistic scientists like Sabine and many others, they don't see any efficient cause at that level in the quantum mechanical world. He recognized that there is a God that knows everything, and he set all these things in place. And not because your scientific tool cannot reach to the Mariana Trench of this weird subatomic, super subatomic environment, doesn't mean that there is no God at the bottom that's responsible for all that you're seeing, or the working of God at the bottom of that. And he developed an experiment to prove that what was very much driven by his religious belief. But the result of the experiment didn't support Zer's belief that nature is fundamentally deterministic. It changed his understanding of God's work, what it means for God to know everything based on the outcome of the experiment. Zer says clearly, impress. What happened with the theologian you line up for the flaky bit? The leftover that scientists really want to talk about, the flaky bit. Give it to the theologians. It don't have much sense anyway, but let me give a listen here to them to see what, This is right here, the scientist talking about God. I did have to go. I don't want to stay too long on this. What happened with the theologian and the line of flaky to inquire? I ended up not including them, Zer says. I went to interview them, and they had all the rigor when I asked them about ethics. But in a funny way, it killed the spirit of the book, you see? They want to exclude theologians, philosophers, because they kill the spirit of the book, because they know what they're gonna say, and they don't want to hear what they say. Very biased against theologian, and you're talking about bias against atheists. No, every man should be given audience. Listen to what they say. Hear if what they're saying make any sense. Don't just cut them off like that because they will just kill the spirit of your book. They're not interesting to make what I'm writing alive and interesting to the reading public. I want to hear what a theologian and philosopher has to say. When I had asked the scientists those same questions, I get very heartfelt responses, answers arose because they're digging deep into the core of the science. Zia explained. They said things that were very personal and expressed confusion and admitted not always knowing what to think. Sometimes I didn't want to then bring in a theologian who would say, actually, this is the right way to think about the ethics of the multiverse, or whatever, or what the scientist says about philosophy and ethics isn't very rational and doesn't make sense when you think about it logically. I wanted these scientists to be given the voice because they were in the midst of this, and that gave their words value, and I wanted to get across their uncertainty that this was an ongoing thought process for many of them. I can see what she means, I think. I feel like the physics is more timeless than morals and ethics. This is what Sabine is saying now. You don't want to hear what science, because they know the theologians are going to come in and say, no, that's absurd, man. That's absurd. It just can't be rationally, it can't be rationally accepted if you think that way and reason that way. Without God, it doesn't make any sense what you guys saying. And ethics it's fundamental to science, in the sense that you have to be honest about your research and experiment. But the ethics and morals, it's outside of the boundary of science and all of these things, and they don't want to hear any of this metaphysical nonsense. And then Sabine said, and I can see what she means. I feel like physics is more timeless than the morals and ethics. I don't know what people will make of ethics and morals in 2,000 years. But the maths will still be the same. She's right. She's right. Because the way society is with this cultural relativism, individual relativism, and there's no truth and all of these things, and your truth is not my truth, and all of this moral relativistic worldview there right now and stuff like that. Everybody think they can create their own morals. We don't need God, and stuff like that to tell us what to do. We create our own morals and stuff like that, which is always lead to contradiction, because a moralist is a moral relativism as postmodernism is a contradictory. It's a contradictory field. A moralist, a relativist can't live in this world. He can't live by what he's teaching. And as I said before, just hurt him or take away something that he has, and you see all the moral absolutism just piling up. But if I take away his car, he shouldn't complain, because that's what the worldview is all about. Another man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. I have enough time to get into ethical stuff, but she doesn't understand that ethics, mathematics and ethics is eternal. They reside in the eternal and changing God. Maths flows from God's mind. God is a mathematical being. Morals flow from God's nature. Both of them, mind, nature, flows from God's nature. You can say maths flow from God's mind. Morals flow from God's mind. Eternal law of God. And then the natural law flows from the eternal law of God. And then positive and civil law flows down further from natural law. That's why we instinctively know that we must lie. We instinctively know that we must not treat others like garbage. Do unto others as you would like to be done unto you. Thou shalt not steal. thou shalt not kill, or thou shalt not murder. How do you know these things? By cultural mores and all of these different meta-ethical field of study. She's right in saying that, but she does not understand that the very mathematics she used in her physics as its origination in the mind of God. If it wasn't for that, because we're created in His image, she would never have a clue how to count from 1 to 4. None of us would. Since man was created in God's image, He gave us these things, what you call communicable attributes. We display certain aspect of who God is because He endowed us with this aspect. Right? Lion can't do math. Even though a lion has a concept of numbers, never on the level of a human being. That's why if a lion is surrounded by one hyena, he put up a resistance. 2, he put up a resistance, a female lion. And if 3 come along, and if 4 come along, then he start to back away. Why? Because a lion has a concept of number. He knows that 5 hyena, I can't take on 5, so let me get out of here. But never on the same level as a human being. God created all of these things, give them different abilities to adapt, to know how to hunt, do all of these things. He created us as this kind of very rational, intelligent creatures. So we learn to do maths because our creator is a mathematical being. We know that not to do certain things, to be moral, to treat our brothers and sisters right, speak to them with courtesy and politeness, immortals, because God endowed us with these things, with these qualities, with these attributes. Yes, Zia says, given that if I wanted to hear anybody's opinion, it would be a voice of people involved in it. What was interesting, I guess, was that there are people who are incredibly rigorous about the physics, but then are able to get very emotional and philosophical in an impeded way, just like any one of the rest of us. They have the same question and uncertainties. They don't know all the answers, and they're quite open to admitting that. I really wanted to conclude this in the book, that there is openness in them, and so on. I often feel like the philosophical and spiritual side is something we don't talk about enough in the foundation of physics. I say, even though it is so important for many people in the field. In the field of science, a lot of people, they're very interested and curious and inquisitive about the spiritual and philosophical side of things, because they know that this reality we live in, it takes an interdisciplinary approach to understand, not just science and scientism, which is the worst of science. Scientism is arrogant, supercilious, and condescending. And this is the conclusion, a brief answer. An expanding universe can make its own energy. An expanding universe make its own energy. This means if we could figure out how our universe began, we might be able to kickstart the growth of a new one. The most popular theories that physicists currently have for the beginning of the universe, inflation, might be incorrect. Inflationary theory talk about the rapid expansion and the slowdown of the universe. And even if it is correct, the necessary technology is beyond us for now. The necessary technology but it is possible in principle. Never. Not in principle and practicality. No way, never, ever. I know it sounds crazy. Yes, it is crazy. But the idea that we might one day create a universe in a laboratory is consistent with all we know. Not true. No matter the technology man able to come up with. You can't even come up with a technology to cure the common flu. You can't even handle cancer. You can't even handle some of the most debilitating diseases that are killing us. And yet you know what causes disease, but you cannot get rid of them. And you're talking about creating a universe? Woman? You're talking about creating a universe? With what technology? You can't even use technology to rise the dead. And you're talking about create a universe? With technology? It need supernatural divine omnipotence to create such things with such power, such complexity beyond human comprehension, power beyond human imagination to do these things, woman. When you're talking about technology, the necessary technology is beyond us for now. It will be beyond us forever, for infinity. You must know your place, and you must acknowledge your limitation, and that's the problem with you, woman. And many other scientists like her. You don't understand your limitation within science. You think by knowing about few little laws and super microscopic principles, particles and all of these things, and you can come up with your little mathematical formulas and can understand and make little prediction here and there. You can take all of this information that you have and to create a baby universe into a lab. I know it sounds crazy, yeah, because you're crazy. But the idea that we might one day create a universe in a lab is consistent with all we know. The scientists said that all we know right now for sure is 5%. 5%. And the James Webb Telescope is sending back information to us that make us confused. It's contradicting all that we had known before. And you're talking about all it's consistent with all what we know. And you still don't know how this adult universe come to be. And you're talking about creating some baby universe into a lab. Listen for yourself. This is coming from her book. I'm not making up nothing. This is what she said herself. Now, if you're a fear person, emoters out there, learn to reason ad rem. Address the point that I'm discussing and stop throwing out your ad hominems. And as I said all the time, you have you can't reason, and you can't reason. Because some guys, some few people, say things and about, but a lot of them, they can't reason. All they throw ad hominems, because they can't reason. They're hungry and wrathful and just insulting and all of these things. Because they can't reason. They're babies. They can't reason. Reason. Learn to reason, man. Learn the art of reasoning and learn to reason hadrem. To the point. Deal with what I'm discussing. Look into it yourself. Does it make sense what this lady is saying? And what the other physicists are saying? Does it make any sense to you, brethren? Does it make any sense to you, brethren? People talking about critical thinking. Now, if he's a critical thinker, does this make any sense to you? Use the argument of reductio ad absurdum. Use it. Use common sense, logics, wisdom, rationality, understanding. Look at this. Does it make any sense? Subscribers, thank you for subscribing. Some of you emoters, subscribe, man. Let us come on. Relax yourself. Behave yourself and relax. Bring some rationality to the forum. Bring some rationality to the forum, man. I'm challenging you. Bring some rationality to the forum and stop demoting. Stop throwing the temper tantrum. It doesn't help. It doesn't help, man. I can't reason with a lion. I can't reason with a great white shark. I can't reason with a hyena. But I can reason with rational human being. Let us come at the forum. Let us debate. Address my point that I'm making. Stop throwing out your ad hominems. Get out. This, that, smug, this, that. Come with arguments. Come. Let us reason together, man. Come, let us reason together. Come. Your insult won't help. Your insults won't help. It just make you look like you're just an infant. Don't develop cognitive, rational abilities and capacities for rational discourse. Come on, let us reason. Oh.